welcome to Adelaide City Talks. I'm Henry Davis, and together with Mary Kouros, we'll be your hosts as we delve into the Adelaide City Council and everything that's happening in our city. Every week, we'll be bringing you the latest updates, in-depth discussions, all things Adelaide, and we can give you an inside look into what's shaping our city. So join us on this journey as we explore Adelaide, one city council meeting at a time, here on Adelaide City Talks. Welcome, Mary. How are you?
Thank you. Well, thank you. Just remember that this is only our personal views and not the views of council.
I forget that every time, don't I?
It's just an important disclaimer.
Yep.
Important disclaimer.
Well, we have been going through our training recently.
We have.
So that's been good.
Our social media one was very interesting, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You can't say anything, I think.
No.
That's the official policy.
And block everybody from saying anything.
Yeah, look, isn't it great as a lawyer when lawyers basically came into Adelaide City Council and gave us training on social media, and their advice was, don't talk about the city, don't look at the city, don't move.
Don't tell your constituents anything.
Yeah,
don't tell them your views.
Yeah.
And just make sure you block everybody from telling their views.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So the message out there is careful what you say. So I think we'll be very careful.
Let's wrap up the podcast there.
No. We're going to continue talking about what we are doing in the City of Adelaide and the Adelaide City Council. And we had our meeting last night.
That's right, yep. Should we start running through it? I've got it in front of me.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
Obviously, the biggest thing on the agenda, which took well over half the agenda, was the planning system implementation review.
That's right.
What did you think about that?
I think the administration put together a really great comprehensive submission. I think they took on board all of our discussions that we had. We had a lot of discussions regarding the review and what we want to submit. We ran on a very tight time frame to submit this, and I think taking all that into consideration, the meetings that we had, the workshops, all the discussions, they captured everything that we discussed in detail. Although I was really confused over one particular issue, and that's catalyst sites.
Yeah.
So even after many workshops,
well,
many
what is
discussions,
a catalyst site?
Well, a catalyst site is a site where it has been bought over time and is expanded. And in what most developers do, they buy one site, then they might buy the one next door, and they might end up being a lot more square meterage than what they started with. And with that, they build very large-scale developments. And I understand that this is a really big issue for North Adelaide residents, and I get it. I really get it, and I guess we really pushed the boundaries with them in regards to the 88 O'Connell, which already was a vacant piece of land, which we didn't buy over time, which was, as we know, the 30-year history. Let's not go back into it. So the fact that it was brought forward by the North Ward Councillor, well, actually it was first brought through by Karen Snape, Councillor Snape, in regards to amending or adding to the recommendation, right?
That's right, yeah.
So he added, I can't remember the exact wording. Do you have the exact wording?
I can't remember the exact wording, but it was essentially the gist of it. Oh, I've got half my jacket on here. So.
Do you need to put that on?
Dress myself. All right. So essentially what Kieran Snape was looking to, Councillor Kieran Snape was looking to achieve was to actually change the Adelaide City Council's position on catalyst sites, which would, they currently align with our plan of increased density within the city, which also has climate change implications, obviously more people in the city, less cars, everything like that, and to essentially remove them and to make the council stance to just completely remove catalyst sites. So
in the gallery there was people from the North Adelaide Society. He started off very clunky. We didn't know what he meant.
No.
We were all getting very confused, and then Councillor Martin, Deputy Lord Mayor, had to take over and make some sense of it.
Yeah.
Then I think the Lord Mayor needed more clarity and better English.
Yeah.
I don't know. So through it all, we finally got there, which was really good if we could have nutted out this during the workshops that we had.
Well, that's what it was exactly.
And we did. And we came with a submission in which we did talk about catalyst sites. But if you Google...
but it wasn't to completely remove them or oppose them.
No. What we're asking is that it could bring benefits to the city. You could have more open space. in regards to it, you could create a better development within the city. Which I asked the mover if he was willing to amend the motion for it to not be the all of City of Adelaide, to really be where the most concern is for North Adelaide, which I do understand that with my constituents.
Yep.
And he didn't accept that, and I couldn't vote for the motion, Henry. It was a bit clunky from the start. It was messy and it wasn't clear, and I didn't have a real good radar in regards from the administration, the implications. We are a capital city. We're looking at population growth.
It's in our plan.
It's in our plan.
It's in the government's plan.
And we're saying, no, you on catalyst sites, near residential areas, you can't do anything. And
so my question was, where exactly now, according to this motion, this is the thing that I didn't understand. This is why I'm very critical of these types of motions. Doesn't come to a workshop. We don't discuss it. And so what did the motion actually say was an inappropriate location for a catalyst site? So where in the city then would it be appropriate to build a catalyst site, or where would that still be considered appropriate? And that's...
Are we talking near, residential apartments?
Is it only North Terrace, or is it nowhere in South Ward, nowhere in Central Ward?
Nowhere in the south part of the city, or the east part of the city, or where? And it wasn't very clear. Anyway, at the end of the day, it was a submission.
Yep.
I think the Lord Mayor was kind enough to take it in parts.
Yep.
We agreed on the submission. But I couldn't vote for the amendment because it was just too clunky.
Yeah, that's right. But I must say the administration did an excellent job. So if you are a resident listening to this podcast, and what we actually put to the state government, I thought was really, really great. So we asked for views from our constituents. We put that in there, and I feel that the submission to state government was very effective.
Yes.
And particularly with, they're not getting rid of catalyst sites. That's just not happening.
No.
But it's really about how that interfaces with residents. And I think that our role is to look at improving that policy over time. But, oh well.
Oh, well. We'll see. We'll see if they pick that up or not. So it'll be interesting.
The next one was late night trading. That didn't get a lot of discussion last night. And I didn't actually get to make a point on that, which was I actually don't agree with the lockout laws. At 2 a.m.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I think it happened in Sydney. They did this as a trial. It didn't actually reduce crime, and I've spoken with a number of the traders along particularly Hindley Street, and there was some pretty as a result of the lockout laws, because everyone comes out and all of the pubs and clubs close. Then there's no bouncers, there's no presence on the street really, and there was actually a significant amount of crime as everybody gets essentially kicked out of these clubs.
But we operate differently to the New South Wales with our lockout laws. So you're actually locked into the premises. So with the difference with in New South Wales is that everyone has to leave. That's it. That's the end. See you later.
To be honest, though, that's what does happen. So a lot of these clubs wind down at that time because they know that they're not going to get any more patrons. So it becomes more and more unprofitable as people go home, and they don't have people refilling.
Right. Okay.
And then also, I think it's a massive problem. We essentially push everyone to the casino because the only place where you're allowed to go is the casino. So then you've got 18-year-olds on the street. They're not ready to go home, and so we're now pushing our youth into the casino, and that benefits them. So there's a huge increase in revenue to the casino. I'm seeing those figures actually, so I'm confident in saying that. And so I'm not really sure that that's the best policy for Adelaide. It seems prescriptive to me, and I don't necessarily think it's actually reduced the crime rate, and I've seen those statistics as well. But I didn't make that comment last night. It wasn't, I think, really up for debate. But
no, I don't think it really was. I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more work that needs to be done in this space in regards to businesses, and especially them coming out of COVID to recoup their costs. I understand that, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's right.
If anything changes.
Community grants. There was a number of community grants. If you're a community organisation, you should be aware that you can actually put in these grants and ask for it. Nomination of council-appointed members to Caterpillar.
Oh no, they weren't council members. They were the reappointing. The board members.
Yeah. There was a couple of that's right. There was a couple of contracts as well. Yeah.
So we just rolled them over.
That's right. There was a couple of contracts. Premier's Climate Change Council appointment to external bodies.
I think we voted for Councillor Mark. I can never say his surname.
Mark Tritt.
Yes.
That's right, to the Premier's Climate Change Council.
That's right.
And he's a doctor, and I think he's actually definitely the best appointment from council.
Oh, look, from a
amount of
council
experience.
point of view, I don't know much about him, actually.
Mm.
I don't know much about his work. I've picked up a little bit from what he said, but hey, it seems to be the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I do agree with that. The appointments of external bodies. So that was quite an interesting. Charade.
Henry, what would you like me to say on that? I think we're going round and round in circles, and I feel like it's Groundhog Day every time we do these appointments, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So obviously, my view is that there is a dominant faction, and I believe that there are 7 members who vote consistently together, and we definitely saw that, I think, last night, although I did see that it was 6-5.
So what does that mean?
It was... sorry, my phone's ringing. If we can cut that out, that would be great. It seemed to me as well that those key appointments were already decided again. And so this is our 4th council meeting now. There's absolutely a trend as to who gets on these committees and then who doesn't. And the voting patterns are systematic.
Yeah, I did send an email to everyone expressing my desire to be on the Convention Bureau, which is Business Events Adelaide. I have a very I have a soft spot for this board. We worked really hard over COVID. It was very scary over that time. We changed the constitution. We got more funding. We changed the name to Business Events Adelaide to define it who it is. A whole marketing programs coming out in regards to it, and it's just all that hard work, especially over COVID, especially over the uncertainty that we had, because we weren't holding events in the city, and it was scary during that time, and it would have been great to have been back on that board to watch it all come to fruition, but hence the leader of the I shouldn't say that, should I? I'll take that back. Councillor Snape threw all his nominations around the room, and it looked like, again, it was all programmed to who gets what. And so he went to Carmel Noon. So, it didn't become a shock. And Jing Lee as the deputy.
Yeah. And I think that's... Yeah.
Proxy, shall I say? Proxy.
It's disappointing that I think that that's the case, and it's just been consistent. So it's been 4 weeks now. This happens on every single thing. And it's funny as well. I think Councillor Snape was, for some reason, trying to embarrass me as well by nominating me for committees that I haven't thought about. So
and the ones that they didn't want.
Yeah, yeah. So all the ones that they
had no interest.
Faction, yeah. And so I wasn't aware of the nomination, but nobody put their name down for these things on the board. So I'd actually would have, if the dominant faction wants to give me a call and let me know that, these things are up for grabs, I could have actually considered whether I'll be on some of these boards. I might actually still do that. And see what my availability is, a bit of a heads up. But going into that meeting was, what's the point?
Well, it was really quite sad, actually, Henry, because it was the first time I've actually seen 4 boards go back to administration.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. I've only seen it once before in my term, and that was because one of the councillors that was on that board had to resign. Due to reasons, their own personal reasons, and we couldn't find anyone to fulfill it at that time. But I've never seen that before, so it was sad. It was really, really sad. Yeah,
and look, honestly, if I had been given a heads up, it's kind of like the government should publish what's available and what are the, I don't want to say scraps, because these things are really, really important.
Yes.
But when if I had known that a number of these things were available, well, then maybe I could have picked them up.
Well, in essence, what you're saying, if you knew the ones that they didn't want, and you knew that they were up for grabs,
I could have made that decision.
You could have made that decision, but you went in there not knowing, feeling as if what was the point, and you didn't take it into consideration.
Yeah, correct.
I actually feel for you, Henry. I actually feel for you.
Yeah.
Because this is your first term with the City of Adelaide.
Yeah.
And, I feel like that you've fallen into this political sphere by accident. Like you got tripped into it. You know, like it's you know.
It actually came from Anne Moran.
Really?
So she declared that I was in Team Adelaide, and then off you go.
Oh God, that Team Adelaide thing.
Yeah, it's all
like
about that.
it's such a nothing. Anyway, let's move on. What else was on the agenda?
Nothing contentious.
Nothing.
I did have a motion about the. So I had a motion to. I had a motion. So essentially, in mid-January, the council voted to establish 4 new committees, and those 4 new committees, we appointed a number of chairs to them. And it turns out that those committee chairs get paid a significant amount of money. And you raised that at the time, and it wasn't actually really spelled out in the report, but it was there, and it seemed to me absolutely outrageous that councillors on their 3rd meeting, a special meeting, were then going to be paying themselves $115,000 over 4 years.
120, but who's counting?
It's 115. I did count.
I
did count. Yes, that was the advice that came from the administration on the 120 figure, and it's actually 115. So I wanted to fix that, and I came up with an alternative meeting structure that wouldn't cost us that much money, but could still break these things down into separate sections. The alternative to that is just have one committee meeting. Which is what we did before. Which is what you did before, and then just schedule different time sessions for these different 4 things, right? Yep. But it seemed to me very clear that what the chairs were hoping that these committees were essentially they could be the spokesperson, they could drive the agenda, they could use council resources. And I had a discussion with these council chairs who were under this impression and clarified that position, that actually the chair of these committees has a very, very limited role. Hang
on a minute, Henry. But let's back.
Yeah.
You're telling what were their intentions of being what was their thought that a chair could achieve on
you might remember
this committee?
Well, you might remember the Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Martin, basically said at a workshop on Saturday as well and other times that the role of the chair was to drive the agenda, spend council resources, and direct the staff to prepare reports and other things.
I remember him saying that, but you actually had conversations with other councillors that thought the same thing.
I won't go into it, but yes. And I think there was a real misstatement about, a real misunderstanding about what the roles of the chairs were. Okay.
So for anyone who's listening to this podcast, I know we're getting into some technical jargon here. Chair, role of the chair, all of that. So this committee, the agenda, is actually prepared by administration.
That's right.
So we don't get involved in what is going to be put forward in these committees.
That's right.
And they put together a report and they put together a recommendation in regards to whatever matter is before you. We make decisions on that. It's as simple as that. It's simple, but it gets complicated. So basically, the chair's role is to navigate the meeting, right, to ensure that we have good debate, and to be able to give a clear instructions from the meeting to administration.
See, they don't even have that role.
Well, in a way that you need to be able to navigate that meeting, to be able to get a concise feedback for them to be able to...
Yeah, so during the meeting.
The
idea of the chair is during the meeting, collect that idea into a single thought, which...
That's right.
But there is... So unlike the Lord Mayor, she has the role to clarify a council resolution with the administration if there's any uncertainty. So if we say to the administration, go build a fence, and then we don't tell them what colour it is, well, then they might go to the Lord Mayor and say, hey, what colour do you want? She's like, white,
But she can't even do that. She can't nominate the white.
Well, if it's not a substantive issue, if it's a minor kind of variable thing.
Even then, I don't think so, Henry.
Oh, well, that's my understanding of the point of the Lord Mayor's power of clarification around council motions.
Yeah, yes. The clarification...
But our committee chairs don't have that. Their only job is to sit in the chair.
That's right.
Make sure people talk.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't waffle on.
Yeah.
Which, understand, that's a difficult task. I agree.
Well, there is structure, and there is feedback, and there is a discussion in regards to where the council as a whole, collectively, feels about a particular issue.
Yeah. So can I? And so the comments that were made. So I would propose an alternative structure which would not cost ratepayers $115,000 a year. Now, the argument against that was, well, if if you're not getting paid $500 an hour, no one will be on this council. And that's actually how much it would be. So it actually equates to 5.5 weeks of work for an ordinary Australian, which our council chairs on the Adelaide City Council will earn in less than 2 days. And to my mind, that just does not pass a pub test at all. That is not in line with what our community expects of us, particularly at our third meeting, to chair and replace a committee structure that was previously in place where they didn't have this fee. And so if I was a resident, I'd be furious. And the comments that have come through in the articles have represented just that. But the motion in the end, my motion to save ratepayers $115,000 was lost. And the vote was 4-3. And the 4 people who voted against the motion, unsurprisingly, were part of that group, I would say, that consistently vote together. And that's very disappointing.
Just so our listeners are aware, I am on one of the chairs, so I would like to declare that. I did declare a conflict, which I have to because it's a paid board. My personal view, I don't believe that chairs should be paid, of chairs of committees. I believe that with the structure that we had before, in which the Deputy Lord Mayor, who does get paid more, they get paid $38,000 or whatever it is, 40 something, I can't remember.
1.5 times.
Yeah, for being Deputy Lord Mayor, should then be the one chairing all of these meetings for the duration of their role as a Deputy Lord Mayor. That is a cost saving to ratepayers, and it gets us to do the job. And that's what we're about, doing the job. So I don't agree with that. And for my part, I will be donating it to charity because your motion wasn't successful.
Yep.
And I've decided that I will choose every month that I chair the meeting, that remuneration will be going to a particular charity each month within the City of Adelaide.
Excellent. Well done.
That's what I decided I'd do. I put it out there in the social media, and someone messaged me a really great idea, and so every month I will choose a different charity and to give them that fee.
Well done.
Yeah.
And we should mention that on the podcast as well. So that was that contentious issue. Didn't make many friends over that, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, people were critical of me bringing this to the attention of ratepayers, but that's my job.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I get paid $28,000 a year to do. All right, next contentious one, dogs on leash. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, what can I say, Henry? Dogs on leash in the wetlands. In the wetlands.
That's right. The background of this makes this hilarious to me.
So it is a little bit like something out of a sitcom, isn't it? So we had a workshop. We're allowed to talk about this workshop. We are.
Yeah, sure.
It's a confidential workshop, I don't believe. And in this workshop, we had a presenter that gave us a way that we can get the best out of administration and a way that we can work together collectively with the community. And what was the words that she used? I loved it. And you end up singing together. That's
when councils harmonise.
That's right. Right.
Beautifully.
So we went through. We were in that workshop from 9:30 to 3:30. We were engaged. We were collective. We responded. Did all that. So Councillor Snape's motion was a directive. Yep. It was take the dogs off the leash.
Yep.
And it rules by diversity. That's it, right? We had a presenter, a deputation of someone who explaining what would happen to the diversity if we keep allowing the dogs off leash, and we understand that. But, we haven't done any body of work on that in the wetlands. No. We've done a lot of body of work, which you weren't there, in regards to dogs off leash in the City of Adelaide, in the parklands. Yep. It was very extensive, but the wetlands weren't completed at that time. So I amended the motion requesting
a report,
an investigation in regards to dogs off leash in the wetlands. What are the implications, and to bring people on a journey with us, because that's what we taught. We were told to bring people on a journey with us for us to understand the matter, right? And the most important thing is that we have Catatilla, which is the parklands. It was called Adelaide Parklands Authority. Yep. And Catatilla needs to be, reports in regards to the parklands needs to come through that body before it comes to council. None of that in this motion is going to happen. Yeah.
Just cuts out your major consultation body and the rest of the community.
That's right. So obviously, dominant faction voted that down. All good, that's fine. And then Mark,
Siebentritt.
Thank you.
It's difficult.
Siebentritt.
Yep.
Amended the motion for it to go through Caterpillar, but still having the dogs off leash.
Yep.
And I know that he's an expert in that matter, but we need to
I'm
hear
not.
from administration for it to be documented, for it to be reported, for the public to understand why.
And the thing for me is we had this workshop with an exact state case study.
Yes.
About a council that did exactly this, banned dogs off leash with no consultation with their community, and they reacted to some very serious concerns. And then they ended up backflipping on that, and that really damaged the council's ability to make decisions in future.
Henry, I hate to show my age, right? But I actually remember the case study.
Yeah.
So in 1997, a young girl got attacked by a dog, and she suffered really horrific injuries. And immediately Adelaide City Council went into this mode of get rid of dogs off leash.
Yeah.
That's it. No more in the parklands. Then that caused a community outcry. It was like, what are you doing? No. So we became a war. Then they reversed that decision. Then they put that decision back on. Then it became...
It's a lack of leadership, and you're putting your position, you're putting yourself, and what we did last night was we take a massive risk that you've got the answer exactly right.
Yeah.
And to my mind, I agree that we should look at the impact that dogs have on the wetlands in South Park. But are there other ways to mitigate that? Can we still achieve that outcome in a different way? What could we restrict it? Could we say that you can't have them within 50 metres, for example?
Or could you say that maybe only certain times of the day in a certain section?
Sure.
So, it doesn't have to be so...
So what I'm going to be doing is going out to my community and do that consultation that never got done, and ask my community what we do think about, what they do think about this, and make sure that their voice is heard rather than us reacting to one deputation, which I think is actually very fair enough. But we were taught on the weekend, and I thought everybody agreed that we would. This is the better process to get a report to understand the issues and not make split decisions, which would result in errors, and it shows a lack of leadership, I think.
Yeah, it was very disappointing.
Oh well.
Anyway.
What about the next one, Adelaide Aquatic Centre? I hear Tom Coutts-Tonis isn't very happy with our motion from last night.
I don't think the Labor government are happy with us. Full stop.
No.
Look, I get Councillor Giles.
Did you want to explain what happened? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sorry,
we know.
We know. So we had a motion.
My mum, who's listening, doesn't know.
No.
She's the only one who's listening.
Hi, Mum. So basically, we had a motion from Janet Giles in which she asked for us to request. Was it a request to the state government?
Request the state government
to remove, not build in layman's terms, not build the aquatic centre on Park 2. That's
right.
it.
Move it
to another site completely.
Bowden or something.
Yep. Somewhere else. Oh, I think she was recommending
brewery.
It's
actually a great site for it. That's where I think it should go.
And so
if Tom Coutts-Tonis is listening.
I don't think you're going to win that argument. Look, I think it's really honourable for her to bring that through. It is the tenants on Barton Terrace are really, really, devastated that this is happening out in their front door, out the front of the door.
Yep.
And I think it's sad that you think that you bought this property thinking you're going to have that vista, the entire time that you're living there, and then bang, it's gone. Yep. And I get that. I 100% get that. So I'm happy to support the objective because it had in there to support the residents and in her motion, and happy to support that. And I added an amendment to that Well,
your amendment was really important.
The amendment was towards...
And it was lost on most councillors, to be honest.
Yeah, it really... Well, we got through.
We did.
But currently the government is running a consultation on the code amendment for Park 2, right? So within that code amendment, there's a lot of things connected to it, not just the aquatic centre. So what I asked is that if within that motion we had a part 2 in which we could get feedback.
We'd put in submission about noise and impact of the variation.
That's right. So it was tabled as point 2, part of the code amendment, not part of the first part of the motion. Got a bit confusing for people because I didn't know there was a code amendment happening in regards to part 2. Some people didn't know. Or what a code amendment was.
Does that meant that we were, I think the Deputy Lord Mayor was saying that if we put in a submission about the code amendment, then that would mean that we are ruling out a Brown site.
Yeah. But that doesn't go hand in hand together.
No, that's not what you were talking about at all.
No, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about putting in a submission in regards to the traffic management, the noise and the impact that will have in regards to, Park 2.
Now, and this morning we woke up to an article. Unsurprising, Tom Coutson-Toner says, we're not looking for another site, which is what I said last night. Okay, so, the motion to ask the state government to move the site was a no. Yeah. We knew that was going to be the case.
And they didn't even need some time to think about it.
They didn't.
It was like, no.
He knew that, he could make that decision before breakfast.
Yeah.
And look, and in my mind is that continually attacking the state government, I'm actually a former Liberal Party member. It's a Labor government. But I think continually attacking the state government from Adelaide City Council point of view does not lead to better outcomes for residents. What I think we should be doing is working closely on, when there's a debate in the community about what we should do, have that debate then weigh in. But once a decision is made, I think we have a new role to look at mitigating any harm that might come to ratepayers in a more sensible approach. And your motion did exactly that. It was looking at helping those residents in an actual practical way that's actually going to help them to look at that code amendment and put in submissions about noise and traffic and things that would impact those residents to try and make it the best of a bad lot. And that's what we need to transition from activist into mediator.
And that's exactly right. And Henry, 100%, and we may not agree on a lot of things, but we do agree on that. And we agree that, our role is to get the best possible outcome for the community, for the city of Adelaide. And at times, you just got to take things on the chin, and we're not going to change some things. And as much as we want to, we don't have that control. Yeah. But what we do have that control is to influence a really good outcome. And I just think that we're losing it. I just think we're losing that ability to have that. Hopefully, the Lord Mayor can keep that relationship going. She's
that's a real advantage.
Labor Party member.
Yep.
So I think that is a real advantage. But if we keep doing these sort of stunts on the floor,
you just alienate yourself.
We are, and that saddens me. But that's the council.
Yeah, and so I think we need to take a measured approach and fight for our residents.
Yeah.
So we had some confidential items. I don't think we can talk about them in the podcast.
No.
But otherwise,
Do we have? I think Armand had a really good.
He did.
And we can talk about the good things that we do, not all the silly things that we do. But we did have some really good motions, and Armand Abrahamzadeh, in his sphere of helping domestic violence,
absolutely
brought forward a really good motion, in which to, if you have it there, if you could read it out, please.
Yeah. So. Councillor Abrahamzadeh.
Yeah, Abrahamzadeh.
If you haven't heard his story, if you're listening to this, I met him for the first time and he told me his story, and ours aren't dissimilar actually in some cases. It was, he's done a lot of work in relation to domestic violence, and what he asked the council to do was he asked the council to note our previous campaigns and initiatives around family and domestic violence. He also notes that there's actually a coercive control forum taking place in Adelaide in mid-March in 2023. Right. And what he was asking the administration to do was support the Office for Women and the relevant state government minister in providing in-kind support for the forum to facilitate that forum to happen. And I think that was an excellent thing for him to be at front of mind and bring to council. Yeah,
I think so too. So there are good things that we do, and we will bring them forward. Let our public know.
It's really important.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, Henry?
I don't think so. I mean, we could talk for days, but I think that's it. I think we've got another council meeting in 2 weeks. We've got a workshop.
Yes.
Next week.
Yes.
When's your first workshop? I do have something.
What?
So the Adelaide. So I'm a.
Okay.
So I'm on the board of the Adelaide Parklands Association, not the authority, the association.
Yes.
And the
Very big key difference here.
That's right. So and I'm also on the subcommittee which is organising the Adelaide Parklands Art Prize. And I am very, very excited to say that we've closed nominations for our submissions for this year's exhibition. The exhibition will be held at the Festival Centre, but and I'll talk about that a little bit more in our next podcast and maybe plug a little bit, but we've received 460 plus entries celebrating our parklands and the beauty therein.
Fantastic.
And it's Adelaide's second largest art prize, so it's been an absolute honour to have been part of that project.
Oh, wow.
And Natalia Saad, who is our convener, she's done an incredible job in activating, inspiring people to love our parklands, and this will, a showcase, and I hope all the councillors can come along to the exhibition at the Festival Centre.
That sounds great. Look forward to it.
I remember that's something to plug, but yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Henry.
Anything else from you? You're all good?
No, I think I'm all good.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
No
Bye.
worries. Bye.